So, you want a shiny hunt in the Mega Dimensions, do ya? Well, today I'm going to be going over everything that we have learned so far in the Mega Dimension DLC and how to shiny hunt in the Dimensions. And we are going real deep. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Canadian Guy A and the Shiny Canuck here, and today we're going to be talking about the Mega Dimension DLC and all of its shiny hunts. Now, this is going to be what I do believe to be the comprehensive guide to shiny hunting in this game. Now, there's been a lot of testing within the community, there's been a lot of talk, and I've been doing my own tests, my own strategies, my own plans, and I have been working on it for quite a while, and so I have made this comprehensive guide. Now, this comprehensive guide is going to be focused on shiny hunting within the DLC, but because this guide is going to be so big, I'm going to actually put chapters below so that you can jump around to wherever you need to go, because it is going to be a hefty guide, and for some people, you may know some of this stuff already and not know some of the other stuff. So I've chaptered it below so you can jump around to where you need to go. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, real quick, I do suggest that you do get the shiny charm. Now, I know you might be thinking, okay, that's obvious, but hang on. If you are wondering, or you're trying to prepare for the DLC, or you haven't gotten it yet, and you're like, I'm not so sure. When you get to the new DLC, Mabel actually gives you new tasks to do, and there's no new rewards. So all the tasks that she does actually goes towards the shiny charm. So if you're still grinding out those 1,000 battles, or you got other things you gotta get done and you're this close to getting the shiny charm and you're not sure if you want to get the DLC, well, the DLC actually gives you more Mabel requests that are reasonable and within reason that can help you get to your final shiny charm unlock. I'm also going to assume that you're here that you know how to make a bare bones donut. So there's that. So step one, find the hole that you want to hunt in. So you're going to see a combination of red holes and green holes and yellow holes. You're going to want to go for the greens because those are the hyperspace wild zones. And you're going to see a star and a typing. And you're going to go through and you're going to take a peek and think, what do I want to do? And each of them will give you a preview of the Pokemon that will be in the hyperspace zone. Having said that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to show all of the Pokemon that are in the hyperspace zone. Sometimes they will have families of Pokemon. For example, it could show Ampharos, but there would also potentially be Flaffy in there because it's part of the same family. Additionally, you're going to want to pay attention to the size of the hyperspace hole. If you can see here, you can see this one is a small. This one is a medium. Typically, the bigger the space hole, the more complicated it is, but it also can potentially give you more methods to shiny hunt. We'll be going over that in a little bit and the compromises that you may make between them. Now, if you're going through and you've looked at them all and none of them really suit your fancy, you stop, you turn around, you sit back on the bench, you kill some time, and you do a reset. And when you go from night to day or day to night, it re-rolls all the holes. Now remember, before you go to your space hole, make sure that you go to the Pokemon Center and get your Pokemon healed. I've been looking at all the different hyperspace holes, and there's one that caught my eye, and that is this one, because there's a Feebas in there, and Feebas is a pretty rare Pokemon, and it is a giant pain to catch. So you walk up and you choose your donut. Now, I have a bunch of fancy donuts here, but we're not going to be using any of them because I'm going to be explaining more about them later on. I'm going to pick this one because it has the alpha power. Choose your donut, enter the hole. We're going to skip this. There are 3 different ways that you can shiny hunt in the Legends Dimensions in Legends ZA, and all 3 are quite simple. Now, the first one is the worst one, and it is the run and despawn method. I do not recommend this method. So here's how you do it. You walk up, you gotta basically just run away. So I'm gonna run all the way to about this group of Feebas, and then we're gonna run back. Now we saw there was one alpha Feebas there, and now there's one alpha Feebas and an alpha Magikarp for some reason. Run back. All the way back to here, run all the way back, and each time you do this, you are respawning all the Pokemon that are there. This is a terrible method to use. I don't suggest using it. There are very few times where I would actually suggest to do it. But now there is a second method, and it's very simple. It is the fast travel method. So all you do is you hit pause, you hit the fast travel, and you hit yes. When you wait, pause, hit yes. And this is literally it. Because the cursor is literally over top of the fast travel point, it is so easy. And you can even macro this with an 8-bit do controller, which I do have, where if you have a specific macro setup, you can click it, and all it does is that it just does it for you. And you can do this over and over and over again. And every time you do it, it re-rolls all the Pokemon around you. Every single one. Additionally, when you actually pause the game, it stops the clock from ticking down. See, we're at 1980. Tap it. Here we go. We're going to get back, and it's going to be like 70. Yeah, see? And what you can do is that after you've done a whole bunch of resets, because every single time you do this in fast travel, the game saves. So you could run out, go, and take a look and see, and be like, hey, are there any shinies around? And you say, nope, there's no shinies. Okay, well, I'm going to go wander as if I just ran around for a whole bunch of time. And then I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit home, close down the game, go back in, do a regular normal reset, not a hard reset, back in, and we're right where we left off. And now we have all that time from scouting back, and then we just hit the button again, and we just let it fly. And because we have the alpha power on the Doughnut, they also have a chance to be an alpha. Okay, so I've been resetting now for about 7 minutes, 8 minutes, just to take a quick check. So we got no shinies there. We're going to turn the corner, and oh my gosh! Oh my! 1, 2, 3 with 2 Shelfas. What is okay? Well, make sure you wait. Get the catch. Wait. Get the catch. Listen, I knew this was going to work. I just didn't expect it to work that well that quickly. But as you can see, the fast travel method works very well and very easy, as we got 3 shinies and 2 of them being Shelfas. Now, the downside to fast traveling is, of course, you are limited to the Pokemon that are in front of you and around you. Additionally, if you're doing automatically with the 8-bit do controller and an alpha spawns nearby you and aggroes you, it stops the fast travel, and you have to break the aggro before you can continue to fast travel. Now, of course, that's okay because you can just turn around and reset, but I digress. It's a big waste of time, and it's a headache. The other method that we can use is a very efficient method, and that is actually using horizontal warp pads, not vertical, horizontal. Now, let me explain. When you tap this, it sends you quite far. And if there are Pokemon that spawn within the 50 meters of this, I am within their 50-meter range. As soon as I tap this, I launch all the way over here, and I am now past the 70-meter range, and they have despawned. But not only that, if you're lucky, you can actually have Pokemon on this side of the teleporter as well, because they are within the 50 meters of this teleporter. So guess what happens when you go here? You zip over here, those despawn, these respawn. And here's the best part. All you do is just tap A. Spawn, despawn, spawn and despawn. See, we can see them spawning there. And here is what's even cooler about this technique. It stops the clock almost instantaneously. And you can literally run this for hours. For hours. Hours. I can sit here and just run a macro that just mashes A over and over and over again. And the clock barely goes down. And I'm shiny hunting 2 different spawns of Pokemon. Now again, Not every single warp zone is the same. Sometimes you'll get a horizontal warp zone and you're just not teleporting far enough away, or you only teleport about halfway and only some of them despawn and some of them spawn. But if you can get a teleporter like this, where it is within 2 spawns, that's jumping between one spawn's 50, jumping into another spawn's 50 while exiting the other spawn's 70, jumping back and forth. You can get loads of shinies. You can even get multiple shinies with this method. All right, so we've been going for about 5 or so minutes, maybe closer to 10. And we're gonna head over and bingo. There we go. Shiny Pampor. But now, let's go and check the other side. And there's going to be no cuts here. No cut here. So that you guys can see. Let's check the other side. And... not a Feebas, but a Magikarp. Now, occasionally you can check in between as well. Because sometimes you're going to be catching some strays over here. You may or may not. I don't think we caught any this time, which is perfectly fine. This is the perfect example of a bad teleporter. And we can actually literally show the 50 meter spawn in and 70 meter spawn out. We can see here, there are Pokemon over there, but you can't see them because they're not spawned in. If I push this and I teleport in, all of a sudden I am within 50 meters of the Pokemon. We see Magikarp. You can see here, you can see Feebas, right? But watch what happens when I teleport back. I turn back around and you can actually see the Feebases are still there. They're still there, which means they're not despawned. So this would be a bad example, a bad spot to do the horizontal warping trick. So you got to make sure that you travel further enough to be able to actually despawn the Pokemon. Also, and I didn't do this when I just showed you, but when you're doing the warp pad method specifically, if you encounter a shiny that you want or need to catch, make sure to save before you do so, because if something goes awry, you can undo the save and go back. If you're doing the fast travel method, it saves every time you fast travel. You can just reset and it'll bring you back to where you saved from your last fast travel. Now, there is actually a 4th way to shiny hunt in these mega dimensions, and there's even a 5th one that you can do for the game, but we're going to be explaining those a little bit later because they require a specific tactic, and I'll be going over that later. So now that I've showed you the 2 basic ways to be able to shiny hunt within these dimensions, I'm going to show you the method that you're going to use when you enter into these different dimensions. Now, there are 3 different sizes of dimensions. There are smalls, there are mediums, and there are larges. And depending on which one you go to and where you land, it's going to change how you hunt. Because some areas do have teleporters, others don't. Some areas are great for fast travel, others are not. There is a whole slew of problems that you want to try to figure out. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the S.A.D method, okay? And I know it sounds funny, but we're going to go with it. Now, what is the S.A.D method? Very simple. Survey, assess, decide. Let me show you. So, once again, make sure that you get your Pokemon healed at the Pokemon Center. You then go towards your hole. First thing I'm going to show you is a 1-star small hyperspace hole. The likely scenario of a small hyperspace wild zone is that you're going to get the park. And here we are, the small park. So now that we are here, we are going to do the S.A.D method. We're going to start with S. S is survey. And all you're going to do is you're going to run through and you're going to look what Pokemon are here. We got Pidgeys, right? We got Swablues. We got Fletchlings, right? Are there any more? That's about it. We also want to see where the Pokemon are spawning. They're kind of just everywhere. There's no Pokemon really spawning back here. So the assessment is, if we want to shiny hunt this place, the only technique that will work is the fast travel method. There's no warp zones, there's nothing, and that's it. This is quite literally the only thing to do. Now, I've done an assessment, and my decision is no. I don't want to shiny hunt this. So what do? You turn the game off, and then what you do is you push up at the main menu. You push up, B, and X at the same time, like this. And it's going to say start from backup data. Now, remember how we went to the Pokemon Center? The Pokemon Center created a hard save. There's a regular save, and then there's a hard save. The hard save allows us to be able to get back that donut that we wasted. Now, we have our donut back. So as you could tell with the small hyperspace hole, there wasn't too much to be able to survey. So now we're going to take a quick look at a medium hyperspace hole. Now, as we enter, this is the medium space, one of the medium spaces. So we're going to start with S, survey. What Pokemon are here? I see Tinkatinks. Oh, and there's a Tinkaton there. That's awesome. Let's go and check out the rest. We got some hone edges there. Got more Tinkatinks over there. Got some more hone edges on the roof. Oh, we got Skarmories. That's a great find. Got some more Tinkatinks. We also have a warp pad here, which could be very interesting. So after surveying, what we essentially have discovered is that there are Tinkatinks, Skarmories, Tinkatons, hone edges, and probably Dewblades somewhere else as well. Now that we got survey, we can now assess our hunting technique. So if we were to do the fast travel method, we would get this group of Tinkatink and Tinkaton right there. They would be included in the spawn, and that's about it. There are no spawns over here. There are 0 spawns, and there's a shot that maybe we'll get some of these, maybe, but we're not 100% sure on that. But there's also this awesome warp portal that will most likely get us a few Tinkatink over there. And then when we tap over here and go down here and take a look, and we will get a few Skarmory, but not a lot. It does teleport us out of our 70-meter radius, but we're not getting all the Skarmory. Our best bet to either A, do a Tinkatink hunt using the fast travel method right here, or B, doing a warp hunt to try to snag a few Skarmory, but it looks like there's only 2 over there from this spawner. So now we're going to decide, what do we want to do? What if we were like, yes, I want to shiny hunt this. In fact, I want to do the Tinkatink. Well, all you would do is you would close the game and not do a hard reset. No hard resets. And look, all of our donut energy is back. Do not catch any Pokemon while you're doing a survey. Do not catch during your S mode. All you're doing is looking. Use your eyes. That's it. The only time you should be catching anything is if a shiny did spawn that you needed. Do not catch Pokemon while surveying, because it saves the game and you will lose the donut energy that you expended. If we wanted to, we could sit down and we could start doing the fast travel right here and start looking for Tinkatinks. But what if we go in the middle? What if we were like, hey, I like some of the Pokemon here, but I don't like the fact that we only can get Tinkatink from fast traveling. Or maybe you chose the wrong donut. You're like, oh, I was just surveying just to check, and oh man, I wish I used a better donut. Right when you get to the main menu, do a hard reset. Then all you do, run back to the same hole. And the donut that you used before is back. But now I might be like, hey, you know what? I have a Sparkling Power Fairy Donut. So I could use this and get either a shiny Tinkatink or Tinkaton, but I want you to clock something. Where'd they go? You can shift and change the spawns to something that's more akin to your liking, but the positioning of the Pokemon stays the same. When I turn this corner, there's going to be Pokemon in that yard right there. Bang. This time it's Skarmory. Okay. And then remember where the Skarmories were? Were they around the corner here? We were determined with the warp pad. I'm going to turn the corner. It's going to be a Pokemon set right there. Bang. Tinkatink and Tinkatons. You can rotate where the Pokemon spawn, but you can't change the spawn points. You also can try and get multiple spawners. So before we had one Skarmory spawn, now we have two. So let's say I want to do the fast travel method, but I want it to be Tinkatinks in front of me. Well, you just reset and you go back in and you keep doing the hard reset by going up B and X like so. You're back to the Pokemon Center, set the waypoint, and make your way over. This is why I said that you should track Pokemon's placement while you are assessing and surveying. It might be like, oh, you know what? That's a really great spot for the fast travel, but I want it to be this Pokemon instead. Look up ahead. Bingo. This is what I want. This is what I want. I wanted the Tinkatinks right there. Gonna go around and just take a quick look-see, because these Pokemon over here potentially could be shiny, or could potentially be being triggered by the Doughnut, which they're not. It's the Skarmory again. And then we're going to take a look around this corner over here and see it's Skarmory over here this time. For this hunt, what I'm going to do is I am simply going to do the fast travel method, because I want a Tinkatink. To make sure to maximize my use of this Doughnut, I'm going to close the game down once again, go back in, and not hard reset, just a regular reset. Go back in, press A, and we're going to have all of our Doughnut power back, and then we're going to hit the button here, and we're going to let it fly. So this one took a lot longer than I expected. However, take a look over here. There it is. And not only that, it is a Shelfa. Even better. So, we're going to go catch it, and oh! Would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? Two of the shinies were over at the Skarmory, and I didn't even notice. There we go. That's Tinkatink. And we got, oops, I didn't want to quick ball that, but there it is, I guess. And we got it. And so as you can see, that is how you're able to shiny hunt in the most efficient way possible. Now, let's talk Doughnut. So here's the thing, and I want to be very blunt about this. Doughnut are fine. They're good. And they give good stats. But at the end of the day, if you're just looking for one specific shiny in certain hyperspace holes, you really don't need Doughnut. I would focus more on actually getting the shiny charm over the Doughnut, because the shiny charm, and thanks to the information from Anubis at Saibuna Switch, you get 4 shiny rolls from the shiny charm, and Sparkling Power 3 gives you an additional 3 rolls. I've caught most of my shinies without using a Doughnut. Having said that, as you saw with my previous hunt, you can use the Doughnut to generate more alpha Pokemon, and it definitely makes that a lot easier. So if you're going for a Shelfa Pokemon, shiny alpha, that is a great technique to actually get them through via using the Doughnut. So let's talk about making Doughnut. So the first thing that you need to know, and it's a crash course, we're not going to sit here and do a deep dive into it. You want to make sweet donuts. That's what you want to do. You want to make sweet donuts as much as possible. Now, before you start making your donuts, what you're going to do, you're going to go to a Pokemon Center. And guess what you're going to do? You heard, you guessed it, we are going to save. Because these berries can be kind of hard to get, and they can be a big pain. So before you start making some donuts, you go to the Pokemon Center. You go to Ansha, and you begin your donuts. So, for sweet, the best, of course, is the Tonga Berry. The Tonga Berry gives you 95 sweet and low scores of everything else, and it's the best. So all you gotta do is bang, 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 as much of these as possible. And as you can see, all the stats here, 80, 80, 00, 47, 60 over on sweet, right? You hit make donuts. Skip the cutscene. We got our donut, and what does it give? It has given us Teensy Power level 3 and Sparkling Power Bug level 1. Now, what that means is that whenever there's a Pokemon that spawns as the bug typing, it will receive 1 additional roll. And also, all the Pokemon in there will have a higher chance of being considered as small or extra small. Now, you look at this donut and you think, is this what I want? My opinion is no, I don't want this. So I'm going to hit home. I'm going to hit the game, turn it off. And then we're going to hit the up, B, and X at the same time. Start from backup data. And it's going to bring us back to the Pokemon Center. Those Tonga berries that I burned on that sweet donut are now back. Go to Ansha and take a look. We got 10 back. So you just do it again. And you keep doing it until you get the stats that you like. I like that. Sparkling Power Poison level 2 and Alpha Power level 3. That means that it's going to be very easy to be able to get a Shelfa with Poison Pokemon for this donut. So now this is what I'm going to do. After I get a donut that I like, before I make another donut, I'm going to hit pause and I'm going to fly back to the Pokemon Center. And then I'm going to save, and then we're going to fly back. That donut is now saved. Now, you don't just need Tonga berries. You can use other berries as well. You can use some Tonga berries with some Haban berries, whatever the case may be. Having said that, I want to make sure that you understand something else as well. If the score exceeds 120, you will get a third effect. Now, when you have so much sweet, you can only get 2 effects from basically the main flavor profile of the donut. But for the secondary flavor profile, you can get 1 score if the ability exceeds 120. Now, you can have, for example, something like this, where you have a bunch of sweet and you have 195 fresh, because the fresh ability will take the 3rd slot. It's kind of like a garbage spot. Having said that, if anything else exceeds 120, so let's say you go something like this, where you have 215 in fresh, 210 in sour, and 465 in sweet. Let me show you what can happen. You see, we drew 2 abilities from the fresh, and it's not great because you don't want to exceed 120. We saved, so we can just go back and do a hard reset. You can exceed 120, but not much further from that, and you don't want to have too much of a secondary score coming in, because what happens is that in order to get Alpha, Teensy Power, Humongo Power, and Sparkle Power all come from the same pool. You don't want to try to draw from any other pool, because otherwise you're going to have a lower chance of actually getting Sparkling, Alpha, Humongo, whatever you want. Now, let's say that you don't have a lot of berries and you want to go get more berries. What you can do is that you can actually make sour berries. Sour berries give you a bunch of abilities that can help you be able to collect more berries and more items. So the 2 powers that you want to focus on is Big Haul and berries. So if you get either of those, especially level 2 or 3 on either, if you can get one that has both of them, that is amazing. And I've gotten it a few times where you get Big Haul level 3 and berries level 3, or even berries level 2, or anything along those lines, and you just get so many berries when you go through hyperspace. Beautiful. I'll take that. See, item power berries level 3. Yeah, I'll take that. That's a good donut. And once again, once you get the donut that you like, you go to Pokemon Center and save. And if you didn't like it, all you do is you reset like we have been doing. So a quick little tidbit of information. If you're Canadian, you would have found that hilarious. But Austin John Plays came out with a video to help us determine the minimum amount that you need to trigger the initial level 2 and 3 effects. And it's 420. So if you want to know the threshold of when you can start seeing level 2 and 3 Alpha and Sparkle Power bonuses, or Big Haul and berries, it's 420. So there are still benefits to going beyond that score, because that doesn't mean you get a high enough level donut, nor perhaps enough time, but it's a good tidbit of information to know. So the minimum for a donut to draw from a flavor pool is 120, and you need at least 420 to start seeing level 2 and 3 Sparkle and Alpha Power. Now let's talk about the 4th method of shiny hunting, and that is Sparkle Power level 3. So if you have a donut that has a Sparkle Power level 3, when you enter a dimension that contains the type, or you might have all types, you will get a guaranteed shiny. Every single time there will be a guaranteed shiny that will spawn, and it will be even a mission for you to catch that guaranteed shiny. Now, some dimensions you'll enter, they will actually give you a mission that'll say catch a shiny, even though you don't have Sparkle Power 3, and that happens once in a while. But if you use Sparkle Power 3, you will guarantee to get a shiny Pokemon. So I'm going to show you what you can do here. because I have here a Sparkling Power Electric level 3. So over here is an electric hyperspace hole. So what you're going to do is before you go, you're going to go to the Pokemon Center, as you usually do. And we're going to use our Sparkling Power Electric level 3. And watch what happens. As soon as we get in, we get here. We're going to look around. And bingo. There it is right now. Shiny Emolga. Immediately. And as you can see at the top right, it says catch shiny Pokemon. Now here's the thing. The Pokemon that will be shiny will be the Pokemon that closely spawns to the portal. So because we're so close to the portal, it'll be around here or around here. You could go ahead and catch this and you're good. But maybe you want a different Pokemon. Let's say you survey, you're like, okay, there's a Mogos in here. There's Manetrix and, oh, there's more Pekos. You know, I wouldn't mind a shiny Morpeko. Well, here's what you can do. Turn the game off. And what you're going to want to do is you want to do a hard reset. And now you got your Doughnut back. When you go back in there, the placement of the Pokemon is not guaranteed and it rotates. So then you go back, you do it again. And now the Pokemon are going to get rotated. Perhaps we might get another shiny Emolga, or we might get a shiny Manectric or a shiny Morpeko. To the left over here, it's, there we go, Emolga again. So all we do is we shut this down. Close it down, reboot it, and try again. And you keep doing this until the Pokemon that you desire in that dimension spawns near the portal and gets turned into an automatic shiny. And the fun part about this is that you can technically do this if you also have alpha power, because each time you're doing this, you are re-rolling the Pokemon. So it's an entirely different Pokemon every single time that you do it. Even if you get an Emolga for the second time, it's not the same Emolga as the previous one. And it's Emolga again. But if we look over and take a look, it is a 136 male. Turn the game off. Take a look over here. It's Emolga again. 136 female. So technically speaking, that could be an alpha, right? Now, I don't know why we keep getting specifically Emolgas over here. Okay, there we go. See? We rotated it into an Electrike this time. Hey, so real quick, something kind of crazy happened. So the gist is, while recording this whole guide, I came across something kind of huge in regards to this specific method. It genuinely is kind of complicated to explain in the middle of a guide, and so instead of going on a huge tangent about my theory and findings and how it can be manipulated, I'm going to save that for a new video. But to summarize this video and to talk about the start of those findings, I tried to reset well over a dozen times and could not get Morpeko to spawn near the portal. And I have done this off camera and have found similar results, but I was able to get both the Electrite line and Emolga line by resetting and re-rolling. My current running theory is that if a Pokemon is considered as uncommon, like Morpeko, it will not spawn near the portal. And to save the massive explanation, it won't be shiny. Now, there is a way to force the uncommon Pokemon to actually become shiny, but again, I'll explain that in a different video. In the meantime, let's just get back to our shiny guide. Now, here's another trick though using the exact same Doughnut, is that you can actually force specific Pokemon to be shinies. So let me show you here. I have over here a dark 4-star wild zone, and I can see one of the Pokemon is NK. So we're going to go and quickly scout that wild zone out. It's only a medium zone and I'm just going to be scouting it. So I'm going to use this Doughnut, but I know I'm going to be getting it back. So we're going to take a quick look here and we can see we got Scraggy and Scrafty, which are dark types. Okay, we got NKs here, which are dark psychic. And we just need to check, are there any other potential dark psychic types in here? Okay, so I just did a full check and the only spawns that are psychic are the Malamar family. Everything else is just dark, either exclusively dark or not dark psychic. So now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut the game off. I am then going to get back into the game. I'm going to go back to the same hole. Even though this is commonly all dark types, I am going to use a Sparkling Power 3 Psychic. And what's going to happen, it is going to force a Malamar spawn, and it's going to be shiny. See, here we have the mission catch shiny Pokemon. Walk over here. Bang, there it is. So I have effectively forced the game to spawn a shiny of my choosing because it was the only one in this zone that potentially could be affected by the Psychic Sparkle 3. And where this comes in really big, you can do this for rare spawns. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're going for an Alolan Marowak. And Alolan Marowak is a bit of a rarer spawn, but not only that, it doesn't always spawn in the areas where the Cubones are. Sometimes they spawn, sometimes they don't spawn. And getting a shiny for an Alolan Marowak is a giant pain in the butt. What I did was I found a dimension that was commonly a fire type where I knew Alolan Marowak was going to be. I went in, I scouted, and found that there were no other typings that matched Alolan Marowak because Alolan Marowak is a fire ghost type. So what I did was I used a Ghost Sparkle 3 sandwich. And when the first Marowak spawned, it was a guaranteed shiny. Because I used the ghost sandwich and it was technically the only ghost type that was in the dimension, I was able to force a rare shiny that would typically take many resets. And this is a great use of the Sparkle 3 sandwich. Just got back from a dentist appointment and I still got some freezing in, so before the pain comes in, I want to get this done. Now here's a few additional tips while you're actually shiny hunting. The game saves when you're in the dimension, when you fast travel, or when you catch a Pokemon. So you have to be careful if you're trying to catch multiple shiny Pokemon. Here's what could happen. If you're dealing with a Pokemon that has a lower capture rate, like Beldums for example, and you have a few of them that you want to catch, wait for each one to finish before you catch the first one. Because if you put them into the release window and you throw multiple Pokeballs and the first one misses but the second one catches, it saves the game and the first one goes away. So what your best strategy to do is to save before you start capturing your shiny Pokemon. Try to capture one. If you have to put it into the release window and it fails, all you gotta do is simply reload. Once you succeed on the first catch, then proceed to the second catch. If the second catch fails, all you do is reload because the game is saved from the first catch. So keep that in mind if you're catching a whole group of shiny Pokemon. Do it one at a time. You also have to watch your time and don't be greedy. If you run it down to where you only have 200 or 300 calories left, you may not even have enough time to be able to actually catch the Pokemon. So make sure to not run the clock so close because it's possible that you may not be able to even have enough time to capture all the shiny Pokemon. So leave yourself a good 2 or 3 minutes to be able to actually capture the Pokemon, because it's possible that the dimension can end and there's no way for you to get access back to it and you lose the shiny Pokemon. Now, because this game takes place in a city, sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not the Pokemon is actually resetting. Because the distance is kind of weird and it's kind of timey-wimey, the 50-meter rule still applies, but sometimes I find it's a little bit weird. So how do you know if a Pokemon is actually being reset by a method, whether it's the portal or the warp pad? Because if you think about it, if you're not resetting, every time you go to approach it, it is a new batch of Pokemon that's being re-rolled, but you don't know it's being re-rolled by the reset. Let me show you how you can check that. Let's say I'm using this warp pad here. I want to know, does this warp pad reset those Pokemon over there? Well, the really easy answer is actually quite simple. You just teleport to the other side and then turn and look. Are they there? And if you look closely, you can see that they are not there. So you tap this again, you go forward, and now they're back. That means all those guys are being re-rolled. So all you gotta do is look at the furthest point. Are they spawned? No. Tap again. They're spawned in. See, there was a Scolipede there, and now there's just Whirlipedes. So now I know that this will work for over there. Now, I'm in this dimension here, and I can see that when I teleport here, I jump over to here, that I am despawning and respawning Carbink back here. And I come back over to here. But I do have a question. Is that when I run over to here, I can see that there are onyxes down here. My question is that does that teleporter going there spawn these onyxes or not? Because I can't tell. I know that this teleporter doesn't spawn them, but does this teleporter spawn them? This is how you can check. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the game off and go back in. Not a hard reset, just a regular old reset. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down right to here. So I know that those onyxes are not spawned here. If I do this, I don't know if they're spawned. They might be. So I'm going to teleport, and the first thing I'm going to do is save. Now, the reason why we reset the donut clock immediately is because we want to have the most time as possible. Because if we're doing a check and we want to hunt here, we want to have as much time as possible. Then I'm going to stick as close as I can to the onyxes as possible. I know that there's a pathway here, right through the middle here, and they're right there. And what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look at them. We got one female, one male, one female, one male. Okay. So we got 2 female, 2 male. Then we're going to go back in. Then I'm going to run back and we're going to look. If it is the exact same Pokemon, it means that that teleporter does reset it. If not, then it doesn't. 1 female, 1 male, 1 female. So, you see how they're all different? Before we had 2 male, 2 female. Now we have 3 female and 1 male. That means when we hit that teleporter, that second one, it does not spawn those onyxes. They do not spawn. Like, go from here to here, they're still not spawned. We go from here to here, they're still not spawned. You could do this all day. It will only count for 1 roll when you approach them. What you're looking for is for them to be the same Pokemon. And I'm going to prove that to you right now with the Carbink. So watch. What we're going to do is we're going to hit the teleport here. And we're immediately going to pause and we're going to save. When you save, it saves all the spawned Pokemon around you. If we head over to this Carbink over here, 136, 136, 135, 134. Okay. If I reset the game, every single time I go back, it will be the same Carbink at this save location. It will be the same ones over and over again. You walk up, take a look. 136, 135, 136, 134. Exact same thing. And I can do it over and over and over again. And every time I do it, they will be the same Pokemon every single time. The Onyxes were different because they were out of range. 135, 136, 136, 134. So that would mean that I could sit here and reset over and over again and know that I'm getting new Carbinks every single time. Another tip is that if you're doing a high powered sandwich, like a level 3 powered sandwich, and you leave it for too long, you're going to fill your shiny stash really, really, really quickly. And once you hit 10, you start overwriting shinies. And I unfortunately learned that when I overrode a Shelfa Kangaskhan that I really, really wanted to keep. And I got greedy and it got replaced with a shiny Cyclozar. So keep that in mind. And finally, a 5th way that you can shiny hunt. Yes, there's a 5th way. The reason why I'm including it at the end is because it works, but it's not in the mega dimensions. Let me explain. In the overworld, there are multiple different ways you can shiny hunt. And some of the most popular, of course, is like the fast travel method, the bench method. But then you get some areas where there are blind spots. You don't have either. See, if I were to look on the map here, there isn't anywhere for me to fast travel, right? There's nowhere for me to fast travel. And if you look around, you can try to find benches. Now, there are benches down here, but that is over on the ground. So if you wanted to do a reset around here, you could sit on that bench, but you would be missing all of the Pokemon on the roof up here. So certain holes may open up in an area that is more opportune than others for certain hunting. This hole will allow us to shiny hunt out here. Here's how you do it. All you're going to do is make a donut. A basic donut. It could be no stars. And it doesn't matter the stars of the hyperspace hole. You make the Petrimer, you put the donut in, and right when you get in, you stop. The game saves, right? All you're going to do is leave. That's it. You leave. And when you leave, all the Pokemon in the area have been reset. They're not the same. They're all different. You know what you do now? You take a look. Any shinies? No. Home. Reset. Close. Reboot. You spawn back in here. Turn back around. Escape. You're back out here. And all the Pokemon have been re-rolled. This is a way to do it. And I'm sure that there are some use cases for it. Overall, I don't think this is a great way to hunt. Having said that, there are, of course, select areas where you could do it, where there isn't a bench or there isn't much fast travel, where you might think, hey, this might be a decent plan to do it. And that's it for this super long, super big video. I really appreciate if you watch the whole thing. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to get more Pokemon shiny hunting guides, news, and just Pokemon content in general, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.